We are talking about the movie Creature. And yes, it's a creature feature, in case you haven't guessed. And this one is directed and co-written by Fred Andrews. And it's got quite an interesting cast, actually. Probably most known to people will be Sid Haig, obviously a genre legend at this point, playing a kind of a backwards hillbilly, as per usual. But you've also got Daniel Bernhardt, who is a competent martial artist, but there are lots of kind of martial arts movies. He was in the Mortal Kombat Conquest TV show. But you've also got Mehcad Brooks, who is probably better known these days as Jimmy Olsen in the kind of Supergirl series. And you've got Surinder Swan, Surinder Swan, who was been in a variety of genre kind of TV shows. Mainly, she was Medusa in the Inhumans, a TV show. She was Zatanna in the kind of Smallville, I think. So she's been in a bunch of stuff. And this is a 2011 film, so this is kind of obviously an older one to compare to a lot of those kind of properties that we spoke about. And let me tell you, if you're a Batman fan and you are a fan of the bad guy Killer Croc, this is basically Killer Croc the movie. So we essentially focuses on 6 friends as they are travelling to the swamp in Louisiana for a break. Don't know why you would go there for a camping break. There you go, that's where they went. And this particular kind of Louisiana legend has this kind of gator man who we see in a flashback. His incestual love was eaten by the white gator, and he gets revenge by eating this gator, and it turns him into this kind of like this half human, half alligator kind of like mutation. And now it's up to these kind of like these 6 young adults as they kind of go to this kind of like this particular area to try and, you know, have a look at the legend and all of that. And it turns out the legend of course is true, and he wants to chow down on some young nubile flesh. So what do you think of Creature? This is a real dumb film, let's be honest. Our first scene is this woman skinny dipping in the swamp. Why would you, and on her own, apparently, so why would you go to the swamp on your own in Louisiana when there's clearly gators, at least, snakes, and then skinny dip in the middle of the swamp on your own? I mean, that whole scene is ridiculous. And then we kind of have the hillbillies that Sid Haig is kind of like part of. You'll see a couple of other familiar faces there as well. And I felt that part of the story was not necessary, if you ask me. I felt the kind of the hillbilly sort of subplot. I don't know. It spent a little bit too much time with it. Unfortunately, they are tied in with the kind of the A storyline, so to speak. But I don't know. It took too much emphasis away from the kind of the creature, if that makes sense, to be honest. And therefore, the creature really is only on screen a short amount of time, and you never really feel like you're kind of getting much tension from it because so much time is spent with these kind of like these Sid Haig's kind of redneck weirdos, basically. So it's a little bit disappointing in regards to that. I mean, our kind of 6 characters, our 6 main characters, are an interesting bunch. There is a kind of a brother-sister combo there that are a little weird, shall we say, but it makes for a somewhat unique character dynamic. I thought the acting between them was fairly good, to be fair. I actually quite like the makeup of the creature here. We saw less of him than I suspected we might, but it's just a man in a suit ultimately. But I still quite like the suit. I particularly like his kind of mouthpiece, the way that kind of looked. That was actually quite fun. And he really does look like Killer Croc. So if you've seen Suicide Squad, he kind of looks like that. And obviously this was before Suicide Squad. But he looks like a Killer Croc so much. It's quite funny. And obviously, you know, that's kind of what he's based on, a crocodile base as well, alligator base. Now, it's just a real dumb film, if we're honest. I don't know why anyone would go to these kind of like swamps just to have a camping trip and stuff like that. And people act like typical kind of like idiots going off on their own to have, you know, sex in the kind of like the swampy marsh. Just silly. Just silly. You know, and kind of like again, Sid Haig's rednecks, again, silly characters who have way too much kind of like dialogue that you just don't really care about. And the deaths, unfortunately, a lot of them are off screen. There are a couple of okay kind of like prosthetic effects here and there, but it's a bit disappointing that some of the deaths and some of the kind of the gore effects are actually off screen, and you really only ever see the kind of the aftermath. So that was a little bit disappointing. It's a throwaway creature feature. I don't feel it's particularly strong in any particular area, and it's so silly and it's so stupid in some areas. It does take it down a notch or two to make it a below average film. But there are still fun elements here. I do think the creature effects are worth watching, and I feel the central kind of 6 characters do make for some kind of interesting, they're fairly well acted, and they do make for some kind of likeable sort of characters to a certain degree. So I'll give it a 4 out of 10. It's alright if you like low budget creature features, but it's so stupid. 4 out of 10, have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.